Yes, always excited about going live, and I'm very excited about today's show. I have Dr. Kizzy Parks, very, very excited to talk about growth and managing virtual teams with someone who's, as we would say in Texas, not her first rodeo when it comes to virtual teams. So very glad to have you today. Welcome to the show, Kizzy.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Okay. So I want to, folks who are just now coming in, let us know where you're signing in from, and don't just lurk. Say hi. Let us know you're here. This is a community here, and amongst each other, we should also connect with each other because we're all here for a similar purpose. We all want to grow. We all want to get better. So let's definitely connect with each other. If you're here, this is a safe space. Muhammad's already in. Thank you, Muhammad, for being here. Muhammad Abdullah Shakur. He says hello, everyone. Hello back. Kifalak. Awesome. Well, listen, Kizzy, I'm so glad to have you today, and I'm looking forward to unpacking this whole virtual thing because some places feel like they're going to go back. Some places are going to keep some of it, and then some of them are going to stick with 100% remote, which is what we're doing, by the way. Lisa. Hi, Lisa. Lisa's in here too today. Good to have you, Lisa. Lisa Antoinette, and then we also have, of course, Joanne. So let's start off with your best tip or tips at the top of the show on a virtual team. What if it's something that we're not 100% comfortable with? We've been doing it because we had to do it. But what's one of your top tips for, what's been tried and true for you in terms of managing a virtual team?
It's such a great question. Number one tip, out the gate.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have accountability.
Ah, yes.
You have to have
Absolutely.
it demonstrated, written out, and you have to have some type of regular battle rhythm in which you're holding people accountable. Too often it's, okay, well, you work from home. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, you do your work. Okay, well, then somebody will get upset because one of their employees now wants to move to Tennessee. But you said they could work from home.
Oh,
But
yeah.
but why can't they move to Tennessee?
Right.
So it's like you really have to unpack, what does that mean? Is it you have them sign into a system so you know every waking hour they're on their computer? If that's important to you, by all means. But you have to unpack it. You have to make sure they know it. You train them on the expectations and you hold them accountable.
Okay.
Hands down, number one tip, accountability.
Okay, that's awesome. Now, Jonathan said that our audio was a little low for you, so Jonathan, can you make sure that I just adjusted the audio there, so hopefully that fixed the issue with the audio. And I don't think it's anything on your end, Kizzy. I think it's on my end. So let me check one other setting here. I'm gonna check another setting. Okay, I think it should be better from now on.
If you could say something, a couple things that way I could check.
Go ahead and say something,
Yeah.
Kizzy.
Hello and happy afternoon, everyone.
Okay, yeah. So let us know how that is, Jonathan. I got more folks coming in. We have Shatiza Jackson from Queens, New York. Welcome. We have Bruce Snowdeal from Columbia, South Carolina. Welcome. That's awesome.
Wow.
And we have. Shatiza says Rose Life. Does that mean something to you? Rose Life? I'm trying to figure out what that means. Let us know what that means because I feel like I want to know what that is. Melissa says, happy Monday. So excited for today's show. Marty Turner says, Tampa, Florida in the house, watching the roller coaster ride on Wall Street, up 500 points. She's a hands-on nurse with input online, 100% education, AACN rocks. Yes, Marty, thank you. And we have, okay, they said now. Muhammad says now. Perfect. Okay, so he likes Bruce says better. So your audio is apparently better now, Kizzy, because I don't want them to miss your great points. Beth Cole's in here too. Appreciate all you guys coming in. Okay, just if you don't mind, recap that point about accountability because it was so key. Let's just recap it.
The bottom line is when you have employees working virtually or in person, especially virtually, is you have to have the list of items, tasks, what may have you, efforts, milestones They must be written down, communicated with the said employee, and they need to be held accountable. And there must be a regular battle rhythm in which they're being evaluated. Because too often, the employer or the manager or leader will say, yeah, work from home, just no problem, work from home. But then when the employee says, okay, well, I want to move to Tennessee, or I'm going to be at my kid's sporting event, all of a sudden it becomes a problem. But why is it a problem? If you would have communicated what the expectation was and held them accountable, more than likely they're meeting the expectation, or maybe they just need to make a small little pivot to make sure that they meet the expectation. So then they can attend different events throughout the day, and there's no problem with them moving to Tennessee, so long as everyone is on the same page about what is expected and they're held accountable.
Oh yes, I like that. That and Lisa says yes, Kizzy, accountability. And David, hey, David's here. David Velasquez says glad to make it there. Glad you're here, David. Lisa says battle rhythm. So that apparently resonated with her. Give me an idea when you say battle rhythm. I want to let's go a little bit deeper into that. What do you mean by that? Like, how often is that? Does it vary per situation, or what's some good best practices when it comes to that?
For someone new, I would say at least every week. For someone who, maybe they've been with you, or it's just a matter of this is something very new for you, it might only need to happen every month, and then you adjust it. In the beginning, it may be every month for 2 months or for 3 months, especially if you have like a 90-day period. And then once they get past that probationary period, you can change it to monthly, quarterly, bi-monthly. It's all based on the actual performance. If you notice that they continuously meet the expectation, then you may only need to meet with them twice a year.
Those are great points. And Bernard says, preach it, Kizzy. Beth says, I had a coworker attend meetings on a kayak in Florida. Nice. I love it. Lona says, hi guys. Well, hi Lona. Good to see you. So give us your background on virtual teams. So just so we know your background, are you 100% remote? If so, for how long? That sort of thing.
Yeah. So when I started my main company 13 years ago, we started out remote. So 13 years remote. And as my company grew, we've pretty much have been remote. And I'll just explain. So I have employees who provide services to the federal government. So some of my employees, by nature of the work that we provide to the federal government, will work on site alongside with federal employees. Then I have a bunch of team members who don't do that. They provide services from home, and they have been for over 6 years. And I have employees who work directly for KPC, primarily provide services for me, and they all work virtually. So for 13 years, I've been in a virtual environment. I literally have an office solely for if we ever land a secure government contract, and for the storage of certain things for certain contracts. But those are the only reasons that the offices are there.
That's great. And that gives us an idea that, like we say in Texas, it's not your first rodeo. You've been doing this for a while, and so you know what stuff works and what doesn't work. So that's great. I love it. So let me ask you this. In terms of 100% remote versus going in the office, do you have some of your employees like, man, I wish we had an office I could go to more, or can you make a space for me? Does that even come up, or do you have a culture that's basically it's remote first and they love working remote?
At one point in time, I had an employee who was like that. And so we got an office for that person. Since then, it really doesn't come up much. Even before COVID, during COVID, after COVID, the only thing that has come up in our recent all hands meeting, employees, my team, they want to see each other. So they asked if we're going to go on another team cruise, or if we're going to do anything together as a company. And so the answer is yes. But no one has explicitly said like, oh man, I really miss going in the office.
Right.
hasn't come up from anyone that I know of thus far.
And I actually haven't had that either, because we went to 100%. We were about 40% office, 60% remote before COVID. And then since COVID, we've become 100% remote. And I haven't had anybody say, man, I really wish I could go back in the office and be in the office. Everybody's been pretty much on board. They love it, being able to work from home. Now, there are some challenges that we've found. And that's just one of the challenges would be, I want to make sure that they have a comfortable office environment that they're working in, and their house may not be conducive to having an office. So I don't know if you have any best practices or tips you want to give on that, and maybe I could share one of mine, but I'd be curious to what yours are in terms of how do you make it more comfortable for them to work from home?
Well, one thing that we do is regularly, at least once a month, if not more, my team, they're all asked if there's anything that we can get for them. So that's number one. Whatever it is, if they want a printer, they need a microphone, they need a computer, they need a ring light, they need a desk, they need a chair, whatever it is, they need access to eLearning Brothers, which we already have access to. But anyways, if they need something, that's number one. The second thing is, at KPC, I'm all about making sure everyone's life is easier. My team's lives are easier and our clients' lives are easier. And I firmly believe you have to have the required tools to do your job. So if something comes up and they need a chair, or there's something that they need to make their office life more ergonomic or just more conducive, then it's taken care of. It's one thing if it's a preference that somebody wants the desk that goes up and down, there's a difference between preference and kind of, what you may require. Plus there's workarounds. On Amazon, you can get the little thing for like $60 that raises on top of your desk. I actually have one. It's really cool. That's a better workaround than spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Potentially. So that's what we have in place, is they're asked regularly, and we have a culture in which they know who to ask anytime that they need something.
Love it. Beth says work bonding trips are bomb. So she loves the idea about bonding on those work bonding trips. And I'm curious what the rest of the audience has to say about, or what they think about some of the things you were mentioning there.
Yeah, because we went on a cruise a few years ago, and I think we're going to go on another one in 22.
Oh, there's the applause for you there.
Yes.
Sorry, it was a little bit late. It was a little bit of a
delay
there. So tell me about the cruise. I want to hear about it.
Yeah, so a couple years ago, my team, a couple things. My team had, we like to do something together, kind of a fellowship, celebratory, and we had participated in escape rooms and all that kind of stuff. So a couple years ago, I took my team on a cruise, which was amazing. And then that same year, they voted on what to do for, I want to say 2020 or 2019. And so they chose a cruise again, but because of everything with COVID, we put it off. So I shared with the team that we'll probably do it in 2022, because it's way more fun to actually go on a cruise than to give everyone the money that we would have put towards the cruise.
Got it. Oh, that's really cool. Okay, so actually, Ahmed's in the house too. Good to have you. He says, "Well said, Kizzy." He says, "Super talented coach and Guinness record holder. Great guest, my friend." So he knows about. We were going to talk about that. He knows about. Let's just go ahead and talk about it since he mentioned it. Tell us about what you're able to accomplish through the Guinness Book of World Records. You're actually in it. What are you in it for?
Yes, I am in it for most skips of a rope while wearing flip-flops in 60 seconds. And I jumped more than 3 a second, 182.
That's awesome. In
yeah.
fact, I think we, even folks in the medical community, are excited that you took so much effort into your health. Look at that. So they're excited too. Very good. Excellent. That's awesome. Muhammad said earlier, he said, indeed, Kizzy, he was agreeing with what you were saying. I think it was when you were talking about the desks, I believe, with the how you can do things for them, make sure they have what they need. Yeah, which is awesome. And then Beth says Mediterranean cruise. She's asking about
Hey, I mean, I don't know. We never decided on an actual location, but hey, I mean, I don't know now. Who knows where we're gonna go? Mediterranean, Mexico, Alaska. I don't even know. Who knows?
Well, everybody's happy. They're congratulating you. Bernard's like, nice, Kizzy, and Muhammad's wow, and Beth is cool. So everybody likes your accomplishment. That's amazing. Okay, let's talk about growth. You kind of built your business, at least a portion of your business on this, is showing folks how they can grow their business even with the government. What are some things that because this show is about growth. So we're talking about managing a team, but I also like to talk about, growing your team, whether it's through one part of your business or the other. What are your tips on growing a virtual team? What are some things that you had to take in consideration as you grew your team and perhaps as you look forward to grow it further?
You have to make sure that your team feels very connected to you, especially given my team, they are ultimately supporting our clients. They probably spend way more time with our clients than they ever will with me. So I need them to also realize that they're kind of serving two kind of organizations here. They're serving the federal government and they're also serving KPC. And so it's very vital that they feel connected to us, because you can easily fall into the us versus them, federal government versus non-federal government, you're a contractor kind of mentality. And so when we bring on team members, we make sure that one, they fit the culture of KPC, two, that they understand that we provide services to the federal government and what that entails and what's expected of them. And three, that we have a lot of different things in place to make sure that they always feel welcomed all the time. It's really, really important. And we hear that a lot. A new team member will join and I'll get a message in Slack saying like, oh my gosh, I've never felt so welcome in my life. And it's a person who's had multiple jobs, or we have some employees where the work that they provide for us, it's a part-time job. And they have a full-time job and they'll say, oh my gosh, you treat me better than my full-time job. Wow. And and we hear that over and over and over and over again. And it makes me feel so good because I am not responsible for any of it. I plant the seeds, I authorize my team, I empower my team, but my team, they're out there. Lori and all the rest of my team members are out there doing their thing. I'm just here to support them and working on some other endeavors.
I love that. The part about empowerment. Okay, so I have a fun question for you because this is kind of what we do here on the show. But before I ask you the fun question, let me just quickly address some of these comments because they're coming in a lot and we appreciate you guys putting in these comments. Beth says, I'm transitioning from a rigorous teaching schedule to working for myself and my brain is hurting. Poor thing. Okay, so maybe we can give her some tips on a little bit what can help her make that transition. Elizabeth says hello to you, Kizzy, as well as myself, everyone. And Prachi, she says excellent. So she liked the point you made earlier. So I caught up with my comments. Now I have a fun question for you. Would you rather? This is a would you rather question.
Ooh.
Would you rather fall from 30 feet into a briar patch or climb up a 30-foot wall covered with thorny stems?
Do I have gloves when I climb the wall?
You can frame it however you want. I like you trying to figure out a workaround already.
Okay. I mean, this is I would probably climb. I'm going to climb.
You're going to climb? And guys in the comments, I want you to answer it too. Whether you're watching live or the replay, I want you to answer all these questions, okay? So you're going to go with climbing, which is climbing a 30-foot wall covered with thorny stems. So why'd you pick that one over the other one, which is...
I'm going to pick climb because there was a time I participated in a race. It was in Orlando. It was very similar to like the Spartan races and all of those that were really hot a few years ago. And there was this huge rope wall thing I had to climb. You had to climb up it and then you had to climb down it. And so it was so exciting. So I mean, I know there weren't thorns on it, but hey, I have strong hands.
And you said you could wear gloves. You said you could wear gloves. So you actually that was a pretty good workaround. I like that.
Yeah, I would love that. That'd be fun.
I think you actually convinced me to take yours. I think I'm going to take your. I think you're going to take your. Guys in the comments, what do you think? Okay. Oh, actually, Beth says she's going to climb. She says you can avoid the stems, which is smart. See, they always come up with these. Muhammad says wall. He's going to go with the wall too.
Okay.
So far, the wall is the winner. Yeah, that's cool. All right. I have another one for you. You ready? One more. Just one more quick one. All right. Would you rather live in a house made from Legos or live in a house made from mud? By the way, before I finish this question, you said something that you did before I thought was very good. What did you say you did that makes you pick the one you picked?
Oh, I had participated in a race that was like the Spartan race.
Okay. So this is, okay, I want to, before I leave and go to another question, I want to tap into this for a second. So you want to do the Guinness Book of World Records. You wanted to get in there. You got in there. And then you want to do this race. What is it in you that drives you to do these different things? Like this is outside of your regular work. You wanted to get in the race. So what is it that have you always been this way where you like to enter these competitions and make these big time accomplishments? I'm curious.
Yeah, yes is the answer. Like right now I'm working on throwing the football 60 yards and I like have football practice every Sunday.
Wow, look at you. Okay, that's amazing. Okay, and one other thing.
So yeah.
My audience will want to know this because I know this about you and I want you to give us a little bit of a background on this. But you have made a huge transformation with your body. Yeah. And tell us about that.
So, well, at one point I weighed around 300 pounds, like a long time ago, I weighed 300 pounds. And then I lost like 115 pounds. And then when I moved here to Miami Beach, I like ended up gaining weight, especially after I found out I needed foot surgery. And I got really depressed because I couldn't jump rope anymore and I couldn't really work out the way I wanted to work out. And so then I ended up gaining probably like 70 pounds. It was something ridiculous. So I'm about 23 pounds from my goal weight is where I am right now.
That is amazing.
So I spent a lot of time over COVID losing weight.
Yes.
Actually.
I've seen a lot of your videos and you were killing it, man. I mean, you showed your workout and you were doing your thing. It's early in the morning you were doing it too. So I want to give you a little bit of props and I think so does my my audience as well. There we go. That's awesome. I mean, keep up the great work on that. It's inspiring to see that. In fact, Muhammad says, I want to lose weight as well. And, I like this. So Muhammad is already saying to Elizabeth that he wants to connect. So yes, please do that. Those who are already here watching, we're having this shared experience together. So I think it's great if we connect with each other. So any of us who aren't connected that are commenting and interacting, or perhaps myself or Kizzy, feel free and let's connect. Prachi says, very nice. So she liked that you made that transformation. What is it that went into that transformation from a mental aspect? What? Because it's more than just physical. You had to go through something mentally. So how did you do that?
Let's see. I really had to authorize myself to allow it to happen. Like I put myself in this position of doing more and doing better for myself and to figure out what worked for me. Because I think too often we look at not only the fad diet, but what other people are doing or what we think we should do. And you really have to do what works for you. So like for me, I can't have like sugar in the house. I don't use sugar. Most of the foods in my house are like have no sugar in them. I have organic, I have fresh things here. Now outside of the house is different, but in the house, there's certain things I have to have and I have to live a certain way. And that's what works for me. I have to limit my carbohydrates in the house. It's just, again, it's what works for me. I'm not saying that you should do this or it's going to work for you. And I just have to be mindful. And I also have to be mindful that I can't drink my calories. So as much as I love oat milk, I can't have oat milk here. I can't have certain things here because I know myself And before you know it, you're like, oh, but it's oat milk. And then you're wondering why the scale hasn't moved. Well, because oat milk has a lot of calories in it. And you don't realize that that additional little oat milk or whatever it is in your life, it adds up. So that knowing yourself, doing what works for you, and also giving yourself, latitude. Because there are times, like I had some amazing pancakes Saturday and I want them again, and I probably will. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I know I'm really healthy. I know what my fitness is like. I work out 6 to 7 days a week. I mean, you got to figure out what works for you. And that's what's important.
I love that. And you know what? I think that also applies to managing a virtual team. A lot of things you're saying. So give me some of but you take what you just said and let's apply that to how that should manifest itself in a virtual team.
Okay. There's no reason you can't have the same kind of culture in your virtual team as you would if you were all in the same office. But you have to come to terms with what your culture is. And you really have to come to terms with this. Because if you're a micromanager when people are in the office, well, then more than likely you're going to be a micromanager when people are working virtually. And if that's what your culture is, that's your culture. But you have to be very aware of it, and you have to, again, do what works for you. So take us. So most of my team, the end client is the federal government. So my focus varies. They're called quality reviews. Those are what my team has. And each quality review is based on the client and the team member's position. And so that's how we operate. And it's based on what's important at my company. So what's important is they attend my meetings, that they have to post in Slack by a certain time every day. There's certain little things that they have to do because these are things that are important to my company. I want everybody to be in Slack. I want everyone to know that one of the major touch points with my firm is through all of our meetings. So it's vital that you attend our meetings, because otherwise you're not going to really have touch points with us. But maybe for another business owner, maybe that's not as important. Maybe with them working virtually, maybe what's more important is the speed at which they respond to an email, or maybe they have a phone job. And so you're wanting to make sure that the call rate is fine and there's a limited hold time. Who knows? But you have to figure out what works best for your culture, because it's the only way. And again, what works for me may not work for you. And something else that's really important with my company is that we always put health and family and friends first. If there's some kind of health emergency or situation, we work through it. It's not, well, it doesn't matter, you're at home. Like, no, if you're sick, please don't work.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's a good
one. Even if you're at home, because that was one of the situations with COVID, is this whole, oh, I'm sick mentality. And we would allow it to happen. It was like your nose is running and your eyes are bloodshot, but you're a trooper because you're sick. No, that's not smart. Stay at home and get better. Don't stay at home and get on your laptop because you're at home. Like, please don't work. Yeah, please.
Exactly. And I think that the medical community agrees with you too on that. So that's good.
Yay!
That was a key. I love that. And I think in our culture, there is everyone wants to be present. They want to help. They want to contribute. So they are working through sickness cases. And sometimes I'll speak up and say, hey, it's okay. You want to take some time off. But I think that maybe we even need to be more proactive with that. Just to make sure that our culture is not one where they feel obligated to want to contribute and work even when they're sick, versus just getting better faster and taking the rest that they need. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. And I think to that, you have to have somebody on your team who's checking in. So, because they may not be apt to share. And so I have various team members who check in and make sure the team is okay, that they're well aware of situations that may have an impact on them. And that's really vital, because they're your team, and you want to make sure your team is fine. It's very similar to, you know, the water cooler talk or the talk in the lunchroom or talk in the hallway. You need to be aware, because maybe you'll find out that somebody's, you know, maybe needs some extra time, or you know, like one of my team members, his daughter is in a musical. And it's really cool that she's in this musical. And I think it's awesome how he's supportive. He's driving to Indiana. And, you know, I think that's awesome. And that's cool for us to know, because it's now I understand about some of his work hours, which, you know, it's really cool. And so it's good to make sure that your team has enough time and they understand that what's important in life, in my opinion, is family, friends, and of course, health. If you don't have health and wellness, you don't have anything.
Ooh, I love that. That's awesome. Okay, we're going to get back to some fun stuff. I'm going to catch up on the comments, and I have a question for you and our audience. So Muhammad says, I want to lose weight as well. So apparently that was something that resonated with him. And then also, he says in COVID, I am gaining weight, which, hey, look, we've all been there. I've actually gained a couple of pounds during COVID. And Bernard says I'm about 30 from mine. Joanne says me too. And then, he also said, I'm open to connect. Let's connect with Kizzy Parks and Rollis. And yes, that's all connect. Prachi says we should maintain our health to avoid further health-related challenging situations. Yes. And yes, absolutely. Bernard says latitude and gratitude. Love that. And Eduardo. Hey, Eduardo. He says love that, Kizzy. So he loves what you just said. And guys, I'm loving that you're showing up here. Thank you for being here, and keep doing that. Let us know where you're coming in from, what area of the United States or what country you're signing in from. We want to keep hearing from you. Joy says, yes, Joy Bonet. Yes, I agree. It comes down to culture. Perseverance can be tied to cultural expectations and generate one's guiding principles. Great stuff. Any thoughts you want to, piggyback on before I go into my fun question? Kizzy?
I would just say gratitude is super important. You know, just to always express gratitude for what you have in your life, because there's always somebody who wishes they had or that they are where you are. And it's easy to take it for granted because sometimes we're so focused on what we don't have that just don't forget about what we do have.
Oh, yeah, that is so true. Absolutely. On the nose on that one. Okay. So this is my never have I ever section here, and so I want to ask you this, but don't tell me right off. Don't tell me right off. Yeah, I want you to keep me guessing, because we're going to guess. So guys in the comments, we're going to guess if Kizzy has or has never done what I'm about to read. Never have I ever ordered the most expensive thing on the menu. Okay, so don't answer that yet. What do you guys think in the comments? Do you think that Kizzy has purposely ordered the most expensive thing on the menu? Yes or no? Let me know in the comments. And while I'm waiting for them to say that, oh, hey, Myrna, she says she's watching from San Antonio. Welcome. And Eduardo says he's watching from Dallas. And Elizabeth says she's watching from Newport News, Virginia. Thank you for doing that. Appreciate you putting that in there. She says, Elizabeth says, gratitude is everything. It's a different type of kindness. Yes. Yes, I agree. Absolutely. Okay, so guys, what do you think? Do you think Kizzy has or has never ordered the most expensive thing on the menu? We'll see what they say on that. Okay, now I can just tell you for me, I have never pointed out the most expensive thing, but maybe in the top echelon of the menu, but not necessarily just the most expensive thing for that purpose. I don't know. I just haven't done that. So we are in suspense. Okay, now Elizabeth says, I don't think Kizzy would do that. She says, I don't think she would. So we'll see.
Yeah, okay. I don't. Okay, so truly, I don't really remember. I don't think I have of recent. I don't think I have. However, there is something I kind of want to order because it's so over the top, but it's such a waste of money and I could buy crypto with it. So I probably will never do it. But there is something I really wish I could buy. And it is definitely the most expensive item on the menu.
And by the way, Myrna, she thought you did. And Bruce says, no, I don't think so. Eduardo says, I agree, but I don't think Kizzy has. So we guessed right. Actually, I didn't even guess for you. I just said for myself. I should have guessed. Elizabeth says, unless she was completely treating herself and wanted to feel super great, laugh out loud. Okay, and what did you say you were going to order? Did you say what it was?
The thing, so, like I said, I don't ever remember doing something like that.
Right, I got that.
And so there's this particular restaurant that has a $1,000 steak.
You're in a safe space. Tell us, what is it?
It's a $1,000 steak that comes in a briefcase, and then they open it up and there's smoke and people screaming and all this fanfare. I think it's gold in the briefcase, and then you have like some steak in there or something. I know. Wow. It's at Poppy Steak. You can see it online. You can see it on their Instagram.
Okay, so if you ever do that, you have to record that and let us see it. Share it with us. That would be amazing.
The only time I would do that is once my cryptocurrency takes off, because I would be like kicking myself because I could invest that money and save that money and not waste it. But it would be really interesting. It's the most expensive food item on their menu, and it's a whole experience. So that's the only thing I would ever really go crazy for food wise.
But, I mean, okay, but yes, and I hear what you're saying about there are other ways that you could get a better return on it. But is it really a waste though? What about the experience? What about the experience of having it? Is that really a waste? I'm not sure.
I know, but it's hard because I don't really eat beef anymore, so I wouldn't even really eat it.
Okay, so guys in the comments, what do you think she should do? Do you think she should splurge on the $1,000 steak, experience it, and maybe even share it with us? Or do you think she should spend it on her Bitcoin or her cryptocurrency?
More Shiba Inu.
Yeah. More Shiba Inu, yes. Okay, so what do you guys think? Let me know. Okay, let's get back to the conversation on virtual teams. What do you think was the biggest challenge, though, in having a virtual team? I know you mentioned accountability was important, but what has been the challenge or like an issue or a problem that comes from virtual teams that you wouldn't have in an office?
That one's really hard to answer because I think there's a lot more challenges with people being in the office and we minimize them.
Wow.
So, yeah, I think because there have been studies that have shown that people in offices will work like 20% of the time actually on work, and the rest of the 80% they're not even working. Wow. And so, I mean, there hasn't been anything that's come up in a virtual environment. I would say this. Okay, this doesn't happen as much as it did 5-6 years ago. Well, actually, no. Okay, here's the issue. The issue that's come up has been the speed of some people's Wi-Fi. So we have to incorporate like a speed test because we may be using like Adobe Connect, Zoom, things of that nature. And so the response often was like, oh, well, I live in the country. It doesn't have to do anything with you living in the country. It has to do with which plan you have and a speed test.
Right.
And so that has come up, not of recent, or there may have been a team member who wasn't forthcoming about like not having Wi-Fi. But again, that was a few years ago. And since then, either most have Wi-Fi or they may live in a city where they offer Wi-Fi, or like in my building, we get free Google Fiber as part of living in this building.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, I think that the reason why I asked that question, and actually the mission accomplished, is that you gave us something that we should at least be checking on within our current setup to make sure that we're okay in that area. So the lesson I get from that for me is let's ask our employees and do a speed test as to what kind of speed they have to make sure that we do have the right kind of Wi-Fi. And if they don't, how do we help them? Now, do you think it's appropriate for the employer to go ahead and reimburse for a portion of that cost that has to do with their Wi-Fi? Maybe you can talk about that. Yeah,
if they have to change the speed, like if they need to change their plan to accommodate working from home, by all means, you should provide a stipend or you should give them something, because I think it's unreasonable to expect that. But again, this is something you got to ponder as far as going back to the expectations of the virtual environment, as well as the rules of your company. Because there are some companies where they ship everything. They ship you a standard desk and computers and chairs and all that stuff. Then there are others who may say, well, if you were in our office, you would just get what we have. So we're not doing anything different. This is how it is. You work for us, you work for us. No different than there are companies that don't pay relocation, and there are companies who pay relocation.
That's a good point.
So it goes back to, what is the culture of your company? What rules and regulations do you have place? And those who are joining your company, do they understand all of this, so that they don't expect that you're going to create this office in a box for them upon day one?
Do you think that the standard should be the same across all employees, or do you think it should be more custom to what their individual needs are?
It should be pretty standard, so you don't have issues with preference and potential lawsuits for discrimination.
Yes, that's good. Okay, all right. So here's some answers back on what you said earlier. Bernard says, where's the beef? Myrna says, splurge on the steak. And Elizabeth, I think Bitcoin, specifically NTFs or something artistic, laugh out loud. So she wants you to invest it. Bruce says the imagination is better than the $1,000 steak experience. Maybe he's been down that road. Have you been down that road, Bruce? It sounds like a man who knows, who's been there. Okay. Eduardo says that's a tough one, but I would say invest the money and go for something like the Kobe bead Wagyu steak. And Kobe beef. Yeah, Kobe beef Wagyu steak. And then Elizabeth says yes. Valid test. Wi-Fi should be reimbursed or at least set up to accommodate working from home. I agree with Kizzy. Good point, Rollis. Okay, so she agrees with that. Okay, so I want to make sure we keep a little bit on topic here. Now, I do have another question for you. This is more open-ended. You want to go open-ended, or would you rather? I never did finish my.
Let's open-ended. Let's do open-ended. Why not?
Open-ended. Okay, open-ended. All right. Okay, so this is okay. In your opinion, what is the most beautiful foreign language that you've ever heard spoken?
Wow. You really went in there.
Guys in the comments, let me know what you guys think. Most beautiful foreign language you've ever heard spoken.
Okay. I'm not going to be able to just give you like a normal response. So let me give you the answer.
Okay.
So one of my friends, she's originally from Japan, and I love hearing her speak in Japanese. So I think it's a combination of the way her voice sounds, her cadence. It's just like, that's what immediately came to mind, was her voice.
Konnichiwa.
So there's something, I don't know how to explain it. There's something very soothing about that. So that I loved listening to.
And you're actually bilingual, aren't you? Aren't you bilingual?
I mean, I can pretend. I speak I know just a tiny bit of Spanish. I can read more Spanish than I can speak.
Okay.
And I know enough to get the basics done here.
Okay. I'm curious, how many bilingual people do we have watching this? At least you know 2 languages or more. I'm curious if we have anybody who considers themselves bilingual. Okay, so look at that. They're so nice. So Prachi and Joanne are saying God bless you to each other. They're going back and forth. So lots of love being spread around today. That's awesome. Okay. So you answered my question. That's interesting. So Japanese. I would not have guessed Japanese. That's what. Do you like Japanese food?
I do. I like Japanese food, and I was going to go there for the Olympics, but I am not anymore. Well, but
there's someone on our production team who has actually been to Japan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't think he minds me saying it. Jonathan's been to Japan. I was kind of impressed that he went to Japan. He wanted to go there and he did it, which is cool.
Well, I love that, Jonathan.
Yeah. So I think that, and maybe it sounds like you may agree with me, I think that a part of learning the language is also learning and appreciating the culture too. And so I like to, if I'm going to learn a language, I also like to try out the food. It tells me a lot about the culture. What do you think?
I agree. You got to try out the food, take in all the different experiences that you can take in, maybe, and if you can, meet someone who actually lives there or lived there, and try to see different parts of that country as well as different parts within that city. So you don't only see like where the wealthy people live or where, like, you want to experience it.
So, okay, so let's bring that back to the virtual team. How does any of that relate to the virtual team? We're talking about cultures and languages and food and all that.
It really does. It does, because in a virtual environment, you may have team members who despise using Microsoft Teams, Zoom. They may be those that are maybe more introverted, and they don't want to be on camera. And it's not because they're in their pajamas.
Right.
They just are introverted. Or maybe they didn't have this many meetings when you used to work together in person.
Yes.
And so it's about communication style and preferences, right? You may have those that, man, you never knew they talk so much and they're constantly on Slack and chatting in the Zoom, and you're like, wow, that's awesome. So, you may find that the behaviors of your team have changed a little bit now that you're relying more heavily on technology. And so that's something to be aware of, and also to kind of see what their preferences are for technology and communication. And then just, always checking in with them and making sure that they're okay, because there are changes, just like within cultures and cities, things change where maybe you're using Zoom, but then now you're using Teams, or maybe now you're using Teams and people are back in the office. So you have to kind of do a level set so everyone knows what's now expected of them, or to make sure they don't get burned out from having the different meetings or being on the computer so much.
So I guess what I'm gathering from you is you like to be flexible depending on their communication style. You want to allow them the freedom if they want to leave their camera off for certain meetings, things like that. Is that true?
Yeah, okay. Definitely. Because I know personally, I don't always want my camera on, and I don't believe in that notion that I have to see you.
Ah, wow.
Because there's that misbelief that, I have to see you to trust you. I need to look you in my eyes. And it's like, no,
yes,
it's not the case. If you read one of the books by Malcolm Gladwell, he talks a lot about that in I believe it's his recent book.
Yes, he does. Talking to Strangers. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an amazing book. And I highly encourage everyone who's watching this live or the restream to check it out, because you don't need any of that. So I don't need to see you. And sometimes I don't want to see you. I need to multitask. I need to make my food or make a coffee, or like I need to brush my teeth. I mean, I'm being serious, and I have to put you on mute. I sometimes just, again, it goes back to knowing thyself. Like, I know how I am. I have been working virtually for over 13 years. There are habits I've picked up, and you don't need to be privy to those.
That's a good point. It really is. I mean, I've been known to do some meetings while I'm shaving. I mean, my team knows that. I have the camera off when I'm shaving.
Yeah, I mean, it's just sometimes you just don't always want to be on. I don't always want to be on, and I'd like to offer that to my team. That if they want to have their camera on, they have their camera off. I know for one of my team meetings with our biggest client, once a week, they all have to have their cameras on. The other days, it's like a conference call, but that one day a week, they all want to see each other. I think that's an awesome way to hold meetings.
Absolutely. Okay, so I do have some responses back on our bilingual and trilingual folks. So Eduardo says, I'm bilingual. I think it's English and Spanish. Mirna says English and Spanish. Okay. And Bernard says try-ish. He says English, Spanish, and French. Ah. Okay. Bienvenue. Yeah. Comment ça va, Bernard? Okay, je parle pour le français aussi. Elizabeth, she says, wow, laugh out loud. That is a hard question for me as I love different cultures and know 3 languages. Okay, cool. Other than Swahili, English, my dialect, Kikuyu. Oh, that's cool. Kikuyu. I love listening to Mandarin and Korean. So those are the 2 favorite languages I love. Oh, I love that. That's great. She says, I love listening to. And she says, so she's saying hi to Bernard. She says, I would love to visit China and Korea. Awesome. Joanne was giving some Korean over to Elizabeth. Annyeonghaseyo, which is hello. Eduardo says, I'm trying to learn new languages. I know a few words or phrases in the Brazilian, Portuguese, French, and Italian. Oh, good for you, Eduardo. Okay, you ready for one more? Our last Would You Rather question.
Ready.
Okay.
I'm ready for it. Bring it on.
Would you rather live in a house made, because I never did finish this one before. Would you rather live in a house made from Legos or live in a house made from mud and palm fronds?
So, but where's this house located? Are we like in California? Are we in India? Are we in Antarctica? Where's this house?
That is a great question. Frame it however you want.
I don't know. I think it would be so cool to live in a house made out of Legos because then I could turn that into a business and I could charge people to visit.
Oh my gosh. What a workaround.
And I could, like, you could add to it. And it's like every Thursday, bring your Legos so you can build on my house.
Oh my
and I charge everyone. And then I think it would be a great, like, it's like like those, what do they call those? Like the live showrooms where everything in the showroom is for sale, but
yeah.
it's.
I haven't been to one though. Is that cool? You ever been to one?
Yeah, we have one where they sell cars, guitars, and coffee.
Mm.
And so everything in there is for sale. Like all they have Porsches, they have all kinds of cars, tons of guitars. Oh, the art, everything in there is for sale. And they have the best coffee in all of 305 area code, hands down the best coffee. And so
give us the name of that place. What's the name of that place?
I think it's called Waltz Cars and Guitars.
Okay, so Joanne, can you find that for us? Because next time my wife and I go to Florida, I want to check that place out.
And message me because I want to make sure that you get it. Okay, Walt Grace Vintage. Walt Grace Vintage. I just know it as Coffee, Cars, and Guitars. It's in Wynwood. It's amazing. I would say hands down they have the best coffee in America. I'm going to put it out there. Their coffee is amazing.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. Okay.
It's so good.
Joanne says, "Ooh, so no, it's Elizabeth who's speaking back in Korean." Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah, she got it. Okay, perfect. See, we learned something from you. And those of you who are watching the comments, what's your favorite place where you've had the best coffee? The best coffee ever. If you're a coffee drinker. If you're not a coffee drinker, you can just say where you had the best food ever. I'd love to see that. It live or on the replay. Put that in the comments. Okay. We need to take them home strong, Kizzy. What are we gonna give them to take them home? Before we take them home strong, I do want them to know what you do in terms of your coursework you do. You have a course, I know, and to help folks who want to grow their business with government. Let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah, if you are interested in learning how to find, bid, and win federal government contracts, direct message me. I have a GovCon Winners Boot Camp that I'm starting soon. I would love to have you a part of it. Or if you want one-on-one monthly services, I have monthly GovCon Winners clients that I work with currently. I also have different packages available to you. Or if maybe you've just even thought about providing services to the federal government and you don't know what to do, where to start, or even if it's an option for you, direct message me. So please do that. As far as taking it home, I want to say this when it comes to remote work is it's okay to be fearful. And fearful in the sense of you may question what your colleagues are doing. You may question what your direct reports are doing. You may question what your employees are doing as the owner. And you just have to let it go, and you have to put trust and hopefully have policies and procedures in place, or to put them into place so you can let it go. Because I find that in this virtual environment, so many are focused on that they think they're not doing as much, or they question, and people say negative things like, oh, you're just in your PJs, or you're just playing on the computer, or they make it all sound bad. But you know what? Employees do the exact same thing at work. They're playing on the computers, and they may come in. So it has nothing to do with where the work is performed. Now, clearly, if you're in the restaurant business or you work in a hospital, clearly that's different. But for those where we're not speaking of those type of industries, you have to come to terms and you have to trust, because what more than likely is going on is you have a trust issue. And that's the issue. It's not about virtual. It's not about COVID. It's not about the economy. It's not about cryptocurrency. It's not about who's president. It's you have a trust issue. And if you have a trust issue, it's going to impact everything and everyone around you. And it's something to really work on and not to try to avoid.
Ooh, that's you did bring it home. You definitely brought it home. In fact, let me just see what our bigger audience has to say about this wonderful session today, which I enjoyed very much.
Ooh.
Look at that. They're so excited. This is amazing. You definitely took it home on that one. I appreciate that. There's lots of things we can celebrate, right? A lot of things we can celebrate today, but I'll tell you, I want to appreciate what you did for us. There's some folks who did leave some comments. I want to just quickly acknowledge those before we close this up, just in case you want to respond. So Elizabeth says, she says, I'm sorry, but in Kenya we have Java House. So apparently Java House is the thing in Kenya. Awesome. And
okay,
Bruce,
I'm trying.
What's that?
I'm trying it. Let's go to Kenya when
Absolutely.
I can. I don't know. Yeah, let's do it.
Bruce says, my kitchen has the best coffee for me. Apparently he's good.
I want to try it. When are we getting some, Bruce? When are you sharing with the rest of us?
Yeah, what's your secret, Bruce? You got an espresso machine in there? Or you doing like you got one of them big fancy coffee machines? What you tell us about your equipment there? Let's see here. And then we've got, did I accidentally hide a comment? I didn't mean to hide one. If I did, sorry if I did. All right, so Joanne, she says, oh, Elizabeth said, I love the show. She said she loved the show today. Why can't I see this comment here? It's like it's covered over. I can't get it where it'll show. Sorry. I think Joanne wrote it, and I can't see it. Elizabeth says, Joanne, yes, K-dramas and Asian dramas all the way. I'm a K-drama fan. Are you a K-drama fan, Kizzy? Do you watch K-dramas, the Korean stuff, the Korean dramas?
I have watched them before. I do of those that I've watched, I adore them. And please, if there's any on Netflix, please recommend them. I would love that in the comments.
Yes, put that in the
I
comments.
would love to know which one should I watch next.
Thank you for that. Yes, I would like to know too. I'm going to check one out too. So put in the comments, guys, if you're watching live or on the replay. Let us know if you had a favorite K-drama. Eduardo says, I'm not a big coffee drinker, and as far as it's tough, so I'll go with the most unique kangaroo burger on the Sydney Harbor. Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's cool. That's some good suggestions here. Bruce says he grinds fresh beans. He brews them in a Ninja coffee maker. That's his jam.
Hey, I love it.
Very cool. Well, listen, today I really enjoyed our session today. Kizzy, you were an amazing guest. I'd love to have you back on the show one day. Will you come back?
Of course.
Awesome. Okay, well, we're going to say bye to everyone. I want you to stay on for just a second, and Jonathan will let us help us close out. So bye, everyone. Thank you for coming on.
Bye, everyone.
All right, y'all. Okay, Jonathan, let me know when it's good to hit the end stream button. And Jonathan will let us help us close out.
You're good, Rollis.
Awesome. Okay, hit the end stream button.